Ba, ba, ba.
Wear pants. I've given quite a bit of thought to our statutes and laws, but there's one simple principle that supersedes them all. It's try not to be a dick. Cover your mouth when you sneeze so others don't get sick.
Now stay tuned to watch my interview of Emily and find out why she was arrested for exercising her First Amendment rights at the birthplace of liberty.
Just try not to be a dick when you stand on me.
I put my life on the line.
Everybody else is like, she wants to continue to keep going. Okay, man. So when you guys started out here, would you like to take that off like right now?
So I'm standing under a tree. I haven't done anything illegal. You guys see this? All I wanted to
Yeah,
do.
you on camera.
Look, you go. Get it on film. Get it on film, people.
Stop resisting. Stop resisting.
Yeah, we need to wait.
See, they're manhandling me. They're handling me, and I haven't done anything wrong.
Stop
All I wanted to
resisting.
do was know why I was being asked to leave. We live in a police state. We live in a fucking police state. They're damaging my body and my personal property.
Stop
I want
kicking.
to law for this country.
Stop kicking.
Stop manhandling me.
Assembled in a public place when the cops come to disperse you with their tear gas and their mace. The urge to fight against them will be quite strong. But instead of violence, let's sing them this song. Say, try not to be a dick.
It is finally great to meet you. We've never met each other, but I think that we've been tackled by some of the same people.
We probably have,
We
come
have.
to think of it. You know, I didn't get all their names. It was kind of just happened too fast.
Oh, I have all their names and their emails.
We'll have to share notes.
You are a veteran of the Iraq War. You came home and you got involved with Iraq Veterans Against the War. That was pretty much your first foray into activism work?
You know, it wasn't until I heard about Iraq Veterans Against the War, when I found out that there were other people who also thought that the war was bullshit.
Yeah.
Even though I had met a few of those people in the military, they were mostly other people in public affairs like me. Everybody else was just sort of the let's just go along with it and everything will be fine type. And I understood that, but as soon as I heard of Iraq Veterans Against the War, I knew that I needed to. It was a gut reaction, actually. I was like, yes, of course, I'll get involved.
How do you feel about the attack on our civil liberties in America at this point?
Well, I think it's nothing new. I think that, you know, you and I were subjected to what is basically standard operating procedure. If we look at the history of what's been going on in this country, every time there's a demonstration, the state suppresses it.
Yeah.
And we're like, we're a democracy, but every time there's a demonstration, the state suppresses it. So it's just words. The state's, we're a democracy. You know, it's...
And there isn't really a democracy anymore, and there, you know, when you do raise your
there
voice,
one?
it gets suppressed. The Panic Hour Facebook page is actually monitored by the federal government. I mean, you know, these attacks on our civil liberties are putting us into a position where it's sit down and shut up, or, you know, you're going to be suppressed.
I've had positive interactions with police officers. The fact is that a lot of police officers used to be in the military.
Yeah.
And some people, everybody takes something different away from their military experience. It depends on what it was, you know?
Yeah.
If you had a positive experience in the military, chances are you're not going to be critical
Chances
of
are
it.
you're probably a cop.
No.
If you had a positive experience in the military.
And it's possible because it actually pays comparably.
Okay.
Like when you get out of the military, it's really hard to get a job that you're actually qualified to do. When I was in, I was a journalist, and I did all the work that journalists do and then some.
Yeah.
And when I got out of the military, because I didn't have a degree, I wasn't really qualified to do the kind of work that I wanted, or that I could have done. I didn't really want to do it anymore. I was very turned off to journalism, because I had realized by then that I would always be writing someone else's opinion.
Fair enough. All right, for me, it was surreal being in federal prison and then getting out and seeing the overwhelming response. What was it like for you getting out and seeing just all the support for you?
Well, it was overwhelming, you know. It felt, you know, I would say I felt really grateful for the fact that, you know, people were responding to what happened. Like, I feel like people were responding to me, yes, but people were also responding on a much deeper level of, you know, this kind of thing happening to a person who's done nothing wrong. At least I hope that.
Yeah.
That people were responding on a much deeper level of, this shouldn't be happening in general, because the fact is it's happening all over the place.
Right.
And I was just insanely lucky that so many people happened to be standing there with video cameras.
There's like 150 angles. There's more angles of
I
your
know.
arrest than 9/11. I feel like you pissed off a lot of. I feel like your arrest angered a lot of average Americans. Like, you know, a lot of the press was coming out right away, and it was spreading virally. It was like, look at this woman. She is a veteran. She was at this place, and you know, it's nice that you had so much front end on your video, so you saw how pragmatic you were being about the situation. You were questioning what was going on there. You know, when they did go ahead and grab you, like, what were you feeling?
Oh man, well, you know, I can't really talk about what happened that much.
Yeah.
I can say that when I watched the video, and my initial reaction was to be kind of horrified, because I never, you know, it all just kind of became a blur for me.
I'll never personally forget when I had 3 cops on top of me, and all I could see was a shadow and the dirt and a little bit of my marijuana bandana, and then I just heard everyone's voices yelling and screaming, and it has this whole surreal vibe to it. And I think you react so emotionally in that moment that I don't even necessarily think you should be responsible for what happens in those situations, because it's just such an overwhelming amount of force. And I can imagine, as a woman, I had 3 grown men on top of me. I think that, you know, 4 of the 5 people that were, you know, accosting you were men, and that had to be an uncomfortable experience as well.
Well, I mean,
and
again,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, again, I can't really comment on it.
Yeah.
But
fuck you guys. I can.
I can't really comment on it, and I honestly, like, I would really. The thing is, what happened to me is less important than the fact that this happens.
Yeah.
Like, this happens, and that's messed up in general. And the fact that it's not outside of the norm, the fact that people were afraid to help because they were afraid of getting arrested, because getting arrested means anything can happen, clearly.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like a polite, like, all right, I'm going to handcuff you now and we're going to go to jail. It's like, hey, we're going to beat the crap out of you and make sure that you are physically too shaken to really, you know, to be who you are. Like, I'm not a mean and violent and aggressive person in general. I work actually really hard not to be, and I don't see the value in being that way usually. You would expect the law enforcement officers to be trained in de-escalating a situation. You would expect that the people hold them to that standard. And the fact that neither of those things are happening, that's what worries me more than any of the physical effects or emotional effects or psychological effects, of which there are plenty, that I experienced following this.
Yeah, well, federal detention was a harrowing experience for me. Being away from my family, being away from my friends, being not told what was going on, you know, while I was in there. And I think that a lot of times the state wants to suppress you and take you down so you don't feel like you can stand up anymore. And I've made it a point post this, you know, these traumatic events to try to go about saying, like, look, you're not going to stop the people, you're not going to stop the movement. And I feel like that if we continue to stand up to the government in that capacity, eventually it will filter down to the average American, and then maybe we can really start to change things, you know, on a larger scale. But for now, you know, activists are front and center doing this. But you're right, it does happen every day to people, and they don't have YouTube clips, you know, for it. So that's scary.
Yeah, the thing is, though, that instead of being afraid of all of this happening, we need to be more and more determined to pay attention. And when we see that, like, I'm not saying that we all need to be crusaders. I'm definitely not planning to just drop everything else in my life and spend all of my time being a full-time activist of everything, because I will burn myself right the hell out.
Yeah.
And I don't expect everyone to do that. But when you have the opportunity to say something, when you have the opportunity to do something that is going to make a specific difference, and you can see that through, then I think that, you know, if we can, then it's positive, it's beneficial, and it's productive to do that. And even if it's just like in a small way, like paying attention to someone when they're talking, like giving other people's perspectives validity. That's my form of activism in that time, you know?
You're such a better person than me.
Well, you know, whatever. It's not about better or worse. It's about fucking different. That's the point. We're all different. And some of us have strengths that are different from other people's strengths.
Well, let me ask you something.
You know?
My main problem with activism, I feel like people are coming from all walks of life and they can't necessarily agree and just work on the issue. I think a lot of things get separated on the outer side of that, where people are saying, well, you can't say that because you're this kind of person, and you can't do this because of that. And I feel like, you know, that hurts activism because people can't, you know, just necessarily unite.
But they're all really having the same argument. You see what I'm saying? Like, just the fact that you're able to say, you said this, but you really meant that. Like, it's the same argument. You just insert different nouns and adjectives, right? Yeah. So we're all dealing with essentially the same problem of not wanting to understand each other and communicate with one another. And for me to not be able to have a civilized conversation with a law enforcement agency member is the same, you know, it's the same across the board. Yeah. It's the same as our, you know, Iran and the US being unable to agree that we're all friggin' people and we all deserve to eat and live and develop our resources in whatever friggin' way that we do. And, you know, yes, I'm not trying to like make policy, but I'm trying to get us to pay attention to the fact that we all have different fucking perspectives. So all that we can do is recognize when we're having trouble communicating and be like, hey, let's take this down a notch and let's figure out how you need to hear what's going on and how I need to hear what's going on.
You should be a counselor between me and my girlfriend while you're in town. sit down for a couple sessions or something. Well, what I really like, Emily, is the fact that you were supposed to perform in Philadelphia when you were arrested, and then there was people coming around trying to watch your shows, and it's like, oh, Emily's not going to be there because she's in federal detention. Right. So you were going to come and play a song for us at Smoke Down Prohibition after the Syria rally. So why don't you? Why don't we do it now? Should we do it now?
All right,
All right,
I'll do it. Well, I'd rather be high than an asshole. I'd rather hit a pipe than your face. I'd rather blow smoke all over this room than blow up all over the place. Yes, I'd rather be high than an asshole. Well, some people call me a stoner. They tell me I smoke too much green. They don't understand that without marijuana, my temper can be quite obscene. Well, I used to act really rotten when somebody had made me mad. But after one puff, all my anger's forgotten. So don't tell me all drugs are bad, 'cause I'd rather be high than an asshole. 'Cause all that it takes is one tiny toke and my scowl turns into a smile. So pass me some grass and get off of my ass, and we'll get along fine for a while. 'Cause I'd rather be high than an asshole. I'd rather rather blow smoke all over this room than blow up all over the place. Yes, I'd rather be high than an asshole. Yes, I'd rather be high than an asshole. Yes, you'd rather I be high than an asshole.
Emily, I wish we got to play that in front of everyone at the Liberty Bell. I think that it would have been poignant, especially down there.
Well, I would have meant it sincerely.
I know it. So you're on tour right now, yeah? You're finishing up?
I'm doing a teeny tiny tour right now. So if you want me to come and visit you, book a show. I'll be happy to play there. Emily at EmilyYatesDoesEverything.com. So that's a way to get a hold of me. When you're peacefully assembling in a public place, when the cops come to disperse you with their tear gas and their mace, the urge to fight against them will be quite strong. But instead of violence, let's sing them this song. Say, try not to